Brahmana, Srimad tested negative yesterday.
Okay, good. Nana, we are live on YouTube.
Yeah, and today, Akegaro and Srinivas also tested negative.
Very good. Good.
Everybody is fine?
All fine.
Okay.
Me Kalandi, how is your
Oh,
cough?
Subbadam. Hari Om.
Nana, you can get started.
Yeah, can start.
Yeah.
You muted everybody else?
Yeah, finished.
Okay. Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudidayet. Yeah, the PDF, please. Yeah. 437. I'll make a beginning here, Brahmara. Afterwards, you take over. Just for the sake of recap, I'm starting a para backward, okay? Then Shankara reminds us in the 9th chapter of those who use the 3 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama Vedas, while performing rituals, take the Soma as the prasada of the ritual, and having been purified of all wrongdoing, become Putapapas. And Putapapa means the one who is cleansed of all papas. And worshipping by means of the ritual, they pray for heaven. Trividya Mam Soma Papa Putapapaha Yajnairistva Swargatim Pradhayante Evam त्रैविद्यमात् एवं त्रयी धर्मम् अनुप्रपन्नाः gata kama kama labhante. This is a famous verse in the 9th chapter. Traividya mam soma pota papa yajnairishtva swargatim prarthayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam क्षीणे पुण्ये मध्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्मम् अनुप्रपन्नाः gata kama kama labhante. Part of that verse Acharya has quoted here. Then what happens? Naturally, their prayers are answered, and after death, they go to the world born of Punya, where Indra lives, and in that heaven, they enjoy celestial happiness. Then afterwards, having enjoyed the heavenly abode, when the punya that took them there and kept them there gets exhausted, they enter again into the world of mortals. Kshine punye matchalokam vishanti. This world or anything equivalent to it, where there is disease, decrepitude, old age, etc., is called Matchaloka. These ignorant people, ajnanis, who wish for desired objects, kama kamis, only come back from where they have begun. They have gone. Gatagatam kama kama labhante. Even though they are following the karma enjoined by the three Vedas, what do they gain at the end? Having gone to some desirable place, they again come back. What is the net result? They remain in samsara. Whereas, look at these others who contemplate upon Ishvara as no longer separate from themselves. Ananyaha chintayanto mam. The verse reads, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. For those who are always one with Ishvara, the Lord has said, I take care of all their yoga and kshema. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. This being taken care of by Ishvara is relative for the karma yogis because they have prasada buddhi, and absolute for the jnanis because they are complete purna. These people are nitya yuktaha, constantly inquiring into or one with the Atma, as it has been explained in this chapter as equivalent to space, Akasha Kalpa, pure and limitless, free from all punya and papa, akalmashaha. Further, he says, those who contemplate upon me, who are seeking me with great love, I give that knowledge, whereby they gain me. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. That is the whole idea here. They do not go to heaven or any other place. They become one with Ishvara. From this, it is understood that the others, the ignorant ones who are committed to fulfilling desires, do not gain Ishvara. By knowledge, people gain Ishvara and not by karma. By karma, they only go to different worlds of experience. What about those who are doing only karma that is enjoined by the Veda and therefore enjoined by Bhagavan? Why it is enjoined by Bhagavan when it is enjoined by the Veda? Because all the Vedas have come about from Bhagavan only. Okay, the attitude with which this karma is done is of two types. One is that of devotees who are ready to do anything that is enjoined just because it is enjoined. They do this karma for no other reason than that it is enjoined by the Veda, by Bhagavan. Nothing is more sacred to them. These are like the people who we see in India removing the weeds grass, etc. from the temple yard, sweeping the floor, bringing flowers for malas, and doing varieties of other things in the temple. Then there are those who do the enjoined karma in order to please Ishvara. Bhagavat Aradhanardham Aham Idam Karishye. Either you do the karma with the attitude that it is enjoined by Bhagavan and therefore it is to be done, or you do the karma for the sake of Bhagavan. Both attitudes make the karma Bhagavat karma. Those who do karma with these attitudes are karma yogis. Even though they are the most steadfast in their karma yoga attitude, they are still karmis. That means what? They are still ignorant. Karmi means ignorant. Anybody who does karma, okay, and that is karma is out of ignorance only. Now, how can you say so when all they are doing is religious prayer, ritual, etc. that is enjoined by the Veda? It is because they are ignorant and therefore look upon the Atma as a doer, karta. In the third chapter, we saw that the person who is ignorant, ajnani, looks upon himself as a doer. Kartaham iti manyate. Prakrutehe kriyamānāni gunaihi karmāni sarvasyaha. Ahankara vimūಢātma kartaham iti manyate. That was the verse. Kartaham iti manyate. Even though the sense organs move about among their respective sense objects, the one who is deluded looks upon Atma as an agent. Still, he has a number of means, sadhanas, to help himself, the last of which is giving up the results of actions. In the 12th chapter, it was said that if you cannot pursue that which is not available for works, anirdeshya, that which does not decline, akshara, etc., and cannot resolve your mind steadily in Bhagavan, you can still gain Bhagavan by abhyasa, the practice of contemplation. If you are not able to do even that, then you can gain success by doing karma for the sake of Bhagavan. And if you are not able to do even that, then you can at least give up the results of actions. Karma phalatyagaha. Why is this the last? It is only from the standpoint of view of the other things that were said. If one of them is possible, if none of them is possible, if none of them is possible, this at least can be done, even though this too is a karma that connects him to Bhagavan, still he is ignorant and therefore a karmi. These are the things to be understood very cleanly, very clearly. In the 12th chapter, from verse 13, which says, the one who is free from, this is all the lakshanas of a jnani, he is going to enumerate. The one who is free from aversion to any living being, adveshta sarva bhutanam. Okay, the wonderful verses, a set of some 7 or 8 verses, right through the 12th chapter from the 13th verse onwards, all jnani lakshanas. Okay, up to the end of the chapter, a number of qualities are mentioned which are the natural expressions of a wise person. Like it is breathing for us, these are the qualities as though of the wise person. It becomes the swabhava of the wise person. These are to be cultivated by the one who wants to be wise. They are friendliness, maitri, karuna, absence of ownership, nirmamatva, freedom from egotism, nirahankaratva. These are natural characteristics only of one who knows the nature of the Atma. This is because he alone is free from likes and dislikes. The hold of ragadveshas is no longer there in that person. Unless one is beyond ragadveshas, one cannot be totally free from aversion to any living being. These qualities and others that are discussed up to the end of the 12th chapter are the means to be followed by those who are seeking knowledge of the reality, that is the Sadvastu, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Knowledge of the reality will be as true as the Vastu itself. That is the Vastu Tantra. Those people are entirely different from the people who are performing karma as a yoga. Then again, in the 13th chapter, see, beautifully, Acharya Shankara has been giving quotations from the various chapters where Bhagavan has cleanly mentioned that this is the case. This means karma, this means jnana, this means wise person, this means a karmi, this means a karmatha, etc. Karmatha is one who is always wedded to kamya karmas. That is a karmatha. A karmi need not be karmatha. A karmi can be karma yogi like you and I. Unless one is beyond raga dveshas, one cannot be totally free from the aversion to any living being. See that? That aversion to any living being, that is, the aversion comes because of raga and dvesha. Okay? Aversion and opposite comes because of raga dvesha. If you are free from them, then you become adveshta sarvabhutanam maitraha karunayevacha nirmamaha nirahankaraha, etc. All those beautiful qualities will be yours as though unasked. These qualities and others that are discussed up to the end of the 12th chapter are the means to be followed by those who are seeking knowledge of the reality, the Vastu. These people are entirely different from the people who are performing the karma as a yoga. Then again, the 13th chapter, the means for knowledge, jnana sadhana, was given. And therefore, no mention of any specific karma like Agnihotra was made. The means that were enumerated there were absence of pride, amanitam, athambittam, ahimsa, kshantirajyavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, all those beautiful qualities. All these are again the Jnani Lakshanas. All these, Amanitvam, Adhambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshantirajyavam, Acharyopasanam, Shaucham, Stairyam, Atma Vinigraha, Indriyadeshu Vairagyam, Anahankara Evacha, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam, Asaktihi, Anabhishwangaha, Putradara Gruhadishu, Nityam cha Samachittatvam, Ishta Anishta Upapattishu, Mayicha Ananya Yogena, Bhaktihi, Avyabhicharini, Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, Aratir Jana Samsadi, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, Tattva Jnanadha
Darshanam.
Darshanam, Etad Jnanamiti Proktam, Ajnanam Yadato Anyatha. All these things have been enumerated by Bhagavan. All those things were mentioned in the 13th chapter. In the 4th, and all these are required to be obtained by us. Unless we conform to those, we remain a karmi. And unless we appreciate the essence of those and become that, we are ignorant. We are ignorant. Nothing wrong in doing the karma even though we are ignorant, because not doing the karma is going to be much worse. That is why Kitaya never advocated don't do karma. He never said that. In the 3rd chapter, he said, Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam. Don't unsettle their minds. Don't tell them, hey, why are you unnecessarily doing this karma? This cannot elevate you. It cannot give you freedom, etc. Don't unsettle their mind. They're doing because of their swabhava. What little they are able to do, they're doing. Don't disturb them. That was what is mentioned. Same thing continuing in the 18th chapter. Bhagavan said, Yajna dana tapak karma nachyadyam karyameva tat. This yajnam danam tapaha karma, there shall not be given up. It shall be done. Karyameva tat. Yajno danam tapascheva pavanani manishinam. They have the influence of cleansing the mind. so they shall not be given up. That is the prabodha of Kitaya. Though he himself a jnani, he has never unsettled his listeners. In the 14th chapter, it was said, he does not hate anything undesirable that comes, much less does he long for anything desirable that has gone away. When Arjuna asked the question, like he has asked in the second chapter, Sita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava, in the second chapter. In the 14th chapter, what did he ask? How do you identify that person who has become a gunatita? Then Bhagavan said, pravrittimcha, nivrittimcha, etc. And he said, he has given beautiful, beautiful descriptions of that person who has gone beyond the influence of gunas. He remains seated like someone who is indifferent, undisturbed by the gunas. Nadveshta sampravruttani, na nivruttani kankshati, udasinavata asinaha, gunaihi yo na vichalyate. Note that he is like an indifferent person. He is not indifferent. He is different from us. That indifference is a kind of a difference from the common folk. He is free from the dependence upon the conducive and non-conducive situations for him to be happy. He is not disturbed at all by various internal and external situations. Brahmana, roll it up, please. Yeah. Then further, in the 15th chapter, it was said, see, he has given chapter after chapter. What all we may have missed, we may have been studying incidentally. After this Gita Jayanti, you have been continuing the Gita chanting, no? Yeah, good. In which chapter are you now?
Today is chapter 6. We're doing
Very
one chapter only per day.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Slow and steady wins the race. And when you will have to pick up speed, you would know automatically. Don't unnecessarily speed up yourself now. Then further in the 15th chapter, it was said, those who do not have the delusion of being an agent, nirmana moha jata sanga doshaha, adhyatma nicha vinivrutta kamaha, dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sanyaihi, gatyantya modha padam avyayam tat. That padam avyayam tat, that padam, that place, avyayam, which is indeclinable, they will attain to that. And after having gone there, yat gatva nanivartante, there's no coming back. And that place, natad bhasayate suryaha, na shashankaha, na pavakaha, that place is not illumined by the sun or the moon or any Agni or anything like that. Okay, it is because of the influence of the place, even the sun, moon, and the stars are brilliant and bright. Then for the 15th chapter, it was said, those who do not have the delusion of being an agent, who have conquered the various concerns with reference to attachment, affection, who are totally committed to seeing the nature of the self, who are completely free from desires for heaven, etc., who are completely above the pairs of opposites like Sukha and Dukkha, such people who are never deluded go to that end from which there's no return. See, such a lot of English was used, almost some 7-8 sentences. And Sanskrit, how simply it was there. Nirmana moha jita sangadosha adhyatma nicha vinivrutta kamaha dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sanyaihi gachyantya modhaha padamavyayam tat. About 2 sentences. That is the brevity of and the nicety of this lovely language. Thus, in these 3 chapters, beginning with the 13th, the various means for gaining knowledge were given. However, these become means only for the seeker and not for a jnani. And understand, the Veda Vihita karmas are for you and I, not for a jnani. Veda has no role to play in terms of ordaining a jnani to do this, don't do this, etc. There is neither a vihita karma for a jnani from the Veda, nor there is any pratishiddha karma, because jnani is beyond the kartrutva bhavana. That is why Veda has no role regarding the jnani. Where are we here? Jnani, deities.
3 types of results.
5 causes. However, these become means only for the seeker, not for a jnani. The 3 types of results of action. What are the 3 types?
Anishtam,
Anishtam, mishram cha. Okay, desirable, undesirable, or a mixture. And this, the 3 types of results were covered in the 18th chapter. Anishtam, ishtam, mishram cha. Trividha karmana phalam bhavatya tyaginam pretya natu sannyasinam kvachit. It does not attach these results to the sannyasi. It attaches to people like you and I, who are karmis. Okay, bhavanti. These are not there for those who have renounced all actions. Action, as we saw in the beginning of this chapter, has 5 causal factors. The physical body. Does anybody remember that verse? Adhishtanam tadha karta karanam cha prudhagvidham vividascha prudhak cheshta daivam chevatra panchamam. These are the 5 causal factors for any activity. The physical body, number 1. The sense organs, number 2. The notion of agency, the kartrutva bhavana, 3. Instruments of action, like the sense organs and the organs of action, and the presiding deities of all these things. These are all necessary for performing karma, and all karmas have been given up by these people, the jnanis. How did they give up all these karmas? You cannot give up your body and sense organs when you are alive. That being so, how can one give up karma? Shankara says that they have the knowledge of the non-dual nature of Atma, and therefore they know that they are not the agent of any action. Karma requires these 5 factors.
Nana, I will take over, Nana.
Next pair onwards.
Okay.
Karma requires these 5 factors. But Atma is one, and everything else, including all these 5, is mithya. Therefore, 1 plus 5 makes 1 only. 1 plus 5 is still 1. What is that 1 plus 5? These 5 causal factors plus Atma, which is 1. This Atma plus the 5 causal factors is indeed Atma alone. 1 plus 5 is 1. This is modern mathematics, Vedantic
mathematics.
The one who understands, that is freed completely from all things connected with action, the karakas. He is free from all the karakas. He is neither an agent, karta, nor an object of the action, karma, of any action. The results of action are not for those who have this knowledge of the non-dual self, which is absolutely free from action. The result of an action can be desirable.
The karakas means action, no?
Yes, please.
Karakas.
Karaka.
Karakas. Okay.
Karaka
who does the action?
Karaka is the instrument of action.
Yeah.
The karakas, those karaka means, the meaning of karaka is those that influence the action. Karaka. Those who contribute the fructification of that action. Karakas, like your sense organs, like your organs of action. Like I'm talking, the walk is a karaka. Like you are listening, your ear is a karaka. Okay, your listening is an action, as good an action as my talking is another action. These are the karakas. Okay, is it okay, sir?
Thank you. Thank you. So
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. The result of an action can be desirable, undesirable, or a mixture of the two. None of them will be there for these people who abide in this knowledge, who, in other words, know the truth of Bhagavan. These are the real sannyasis. In gaining the knowledge of the nature of Bhagavan, they have completely resolved or taken refuge in the oneness of the Atma, which is identical with the nature of Bhagavan. The threefold result of karma is not for them. The ishtam, manishtam, mishram cha, it's not for them. That is what is mentioned in the 18th chapter in that particular verse. Ishtam, manishtam, mishram cha, trividha karmana phalam bhavati atyaginam precha. Atyaginam, people like you and I, people who have not renounced atyagi, that natyagi, atyaginam precha. After we call it a day from this world, after that, they will attain to us. All these Trividha karma phala will accrue to us, not to the sannyasi. Not to the sannyasi means not the sannyasi who has taken to the sannyasa ashrama, the one who has known that Atma is not a karta at all. And such a sannyasi is the one who has appreciated that he is not a karta, and because of that, he has done what? Sarva karma sannyasa. In the 4th chapter, Bhagavan said, what did he say? What did he say? Those people, even though they see people who are active, they know they are not active, because the essence of those people who are active, the Atma, that is the essence of them, it's not a karta. Na kartrutvam na karmani, lokasya srujati prabhuhu, na karma phala samyogam, swabhavastu pravartate. All these were mentioned nicely. So, the threefold result of karma is not for them, it is for everybody else. Whether he is a person who follows the Veda, Vaidika, or is purely secular, Laukika, whether he is a believer, Astika, or non-believer, Nastika. Incidentally, this Astika does not require belief in the existence of a God. It only requires the Shraddha, that the Shastra Vakya is correct, that you will have to follow. That is the Astikya Buddhi. That non-believer does not believe in the Veda at all. Like the Buddhas, they have not believed in the Veda at all. Like the people Charvakas, they have not believed in the Veda at all. Those are all Nastikas. Religious or non-religious, whether he is a Pandita or an illiterate, he is subject to these results of actions. Those who are doing good actions will reap desirable results, no doubt, but they are still subject to the results of actions. It is another kind of bondage. Punyam cha papam badnati. It binds you. While those who know the nature of the self are not subject to the results of actions, all others, being ignorant of this fact and therefore taking themselves to be agents of action, are subject to the results of these actions. They are given the karma because they have not yet come to understand the Atma. Since they have not given up karma by knowledge, they are subject to the results of karma. Thus, we have seen this division. For those who know the nature of Atma, the Jnanis, there is no result of action, karma phala, unlike for those who do not know, the Ajnanis. Since they have karma phala, they have got to act in order to get the results they desire. Those who know whether need not No. Those who know, however, need not do anything. Thus, we have this division of action being necessary, kartavya, for the ignorant, and not necessary, akartavya, for the wise person spoken of in the Gita. Because he is free from all actions, the Veda does not enjoin any karma for the one who knows the nature of the self, jnani. The Veda does enjoin karma for the ajnani. However, in order to help him gain purity of mind, antakarana shuddhi, or any other result, kamya karma that he may want, he already thinks he is an agent, and the Veda goes along with him, enjoining him to do nitya naimittika karma to get rid of papa and gain antakarana shuddhi, so that he can gain knowledge. Thus, the Veda gives us a clean plan to live a meaningful life, one that is useful for gaining moksha. In the vision of the Veda, what is meaningful is to gain moksha. Just imagine a life without any exposure to this Atma Jnana. How did you live before this? I also try to imagine how I was living without any exposure to this knowledge. It is foolish, absolutely foolish, to live a life without any exposure to this teaching. Such a life has no meaning whatsoever because one does not know what one is doing. It is a total surrender to some kind of a general idiotic pursuit. Until you begin searching, you cannot say that anything is useful. When you look back at all these pursuits, it all looks so silly. We simply get along with life, finding some small joy in the things we love. Those things become Bhagavan for us because our ego fuses there. Simple love is the only thing in samsara that gives it some semblance of meaning. But to live a life without Atma Jnana is absolutely meaningless. Only when you come to know, do you wonder how you could do that. Even though a person may be performing Vaidika karma, etc., it does not mean anything if the person does not have any exposure to this teaching. Once he has that exposure, karma becomes yoga, and whatever he does becomes meaningful. His life gains a direction because there is something to be accomplished. Brahmara, will you take over?
Yes, Nana.
Okay.
Nanaji,
Yes, please.
his life gains a direction because there is something to be accomplished. Why? He has already become jnani, no, nothing to be accomplished, no?
No, not for the jnani. Not for the jnani. For the,
Karma yogi. Okay.
this para is for you and I.
Okay.
See what it says here. Only when you come to know, do you wonder how you could do that? Even though a person may be performing Vedic karmas like we do, it does not mean anything if the person does not have any exposure to Atma Jnana, to this teaching. Once he has that exposure, karma becomes yoga, and whatever he does becomes meaningful. The same karma with a twist in the attitude, it becomes karma yoga, and you will appreciate that karma yoga is required for cleansing your mind, which becomes an instrument for the knowledge of Atma to take place. You will appreciate that, and with that bhavana, you will go forward very willingly, lovingly, hopefully. His life gains a direction because there is something to be accomplished. What is that something to be accomplished?
Moksha.
Freedom, correct. Very right. Very right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Brahmana, you are
Yeah.
in the field.
It is not established that all karma is preceded by ignorance. This is an objection. It was said that all karma, whether it is enjoined by the Veda, Vaidika, or is purely secular, Laukika, is preceded by avidya, ignorance. The point here was to show that because all karma is preceded by ignorance, karma is incapable of removing ignorance. An objection is now raised. So this objection is by the Purva Pakshi, isn't it? Or is it?
Objection by the Purva Pakshi.
Or objection is
Purva
by the
Pakshi
Purva
and
Pakshi.
Purva Mimamsaka, they are the same.
Correct, okay.
Yeah.
Not all karma is preceded by ignorance. The performance of any karma enjoined by the Veda presupposes knowledge of that karma gained from the Veda. Without the knowledge of a karma like Agnihotra through the help of the Veda, there is no way of doing that karma. The Veda gives the knowledge that this is the karma and that is to be done in this particular manner. Doing the ritual presupposes this knowledge of it, and we have no way of knowing it except through the Veda. Therefore, it is looked upon as a pramana, producing knowledge. Thus, a karma enjoined by the Veda is preceded by knowledge. How can you say that a karma enjoined by the Veda is preceded by avidya, ignorance? Certain other karmas may be preceded by ignorance, but not those enjoined by the Veda. Even apart from Vaidika karmas, there are other karmas also that are not preceded by avidya, ignorance. If I am running away from a snake, which is not there, that activity is preceded by ignorance. But even simple exercise, for instance, is preceded by some knowledge such as, if I do this exercise, I will reduce the fat on this part of the body. Cooking also is preceded by knowledge. Wherever there is error, we can say that an action is preceded by ignorance. But we cannot say this for actions which are deliberate, which are based on empirical knowledge. Therefore, you cannot say that all karmas are preceded by avidya.
How convincing is this argument, you see?
I know,
How
very
Very, very
ably
good.
put forward. And see how the Vedanta answers that.
yeah.
No, it comes in our mind also like this,
Yes,
Very
yes.
good. Yes. Good.
Now, straight away, if we are asked to contend that, we were at our wit's end. We don't know. Maybe this Purvapakshi is right. So very convincing is that argument. Without knowledge of cooking, how can I cook? Without knowledge of exercise, how can I do exercise? Without knowledge of Agnihotra, how can I do Agnihotra? So the action is preceded by knowledge. And how do you say all action is based on ignorance? That is how the conjunction.
Like the one who does karma known to be pratisiddha from the Shastra is an ajnani, so too the one who does nitya karma, Vedanti's answer. Shankara says, no, it is like the killing of a Brahmana, and further clarifies the point. The Shastra says that killing a Brahmana is a great papa. If a person who is harmless, who is religious, who is doing something like teaching in a local school, and who is absolutely non-interfering in anything, is killed for no reason, that is considered the worst crime, even according to secular law. Both the Shastra and the man-made laws concur on this. There are other things which may be unethical according to the Veda, but are legal. For example, even though the law permits it, the Veda says one should not take an intoxicant. Suram na pibet. Suram na pibet. It is immoral according to the Veda, which means that doing it incurs papa. Nowadays, there is a great public awareness of how much harm alcohol does, not only to the drinker, but also to his family. But besides that, the Veda tells us it attracts papa. Killing a Brahmana is a crime according to the law, like killing any individual. But on the other hand, according to the Shastra, it is a great crime. Even though heinous acts like killing a Brahmana have highly undesirable consequences, and are prohibited by the Shastra, people keep doing them. Why? To whom is the Shastra addressing its prohibition? For whom is this type of karma possible? Shastra tells us that it is possible only for the one who has avidya. Because he has avidya, there is the desire to acquire something, raga, or to get rid of something, dvesha. If he does not have these, it is not possible for him to engage in such an activity. He has his own inner pressure, and therefore he does it. Because of his false notions, something else becomes more important than what is said by the Shastra. He knows the consequences, and he knows that the Shastra prohibits it. In spite of his knowledge of the Shastra, or knowledge passed on to him by those who know the Shastra, he performs this prohibited karma. What does it mean? Even though one has knowledge of the Veda, the sense of agency, kartritva, does not go away, and therefore desire does not go away. Similarly, suppose the Veda says that those who want to gain a given result should do this prescribed karma. I may gather knowledge all right, but I do the karma not because of that knowledge, but only because of a desire for the result. And that desire is born of ignorance. There are others who have the same knowledge, but do not do that karma. Even though one has knowledge of the means and the end, one may employ the means or one may not. Thus, knowledge of the means and ends does not impel one to act. It is only ignorance. What kind of ignorance? It is ignorance of Atma, that is cause of action in general. When Shankara says that all action is preceded by ignorance, he is not talking of sadhana sadhya ajnana, the ignorance of the means and ends. He means the ignorance of the fact that the self is not an agent of any action and is complete, purna, and therefore has nothing to gain by performing any action.
Hari Om. I suppose all of you know what is the meaning of this sadhana sadhya ajnana. Sadhana is the means. Sadhya is the very end that you are aiming to achieve. That is a sadhya. The ajnana regarding the means and the ajnana regarding the ultimate end that you want to reach, that ajnana is called the sadhana sadhya ajnana. Continue.
So, certain actions, the nitya naimitika karmas, are mandated by the Shastra. Who will do them? Just as the prohibited actions are done by those who have ignorance, so too these karmas are done only by the one who has ignorance of the nature of the self. When the Shastra gives not only its prohibitions but also its injunctions, it is keeping in view only the person who is ignorant of himself. It is not possible to do nitya karma without knowing the Atma as distinct from the body. Purva Pakshi's objection. Now this person raises another argument based on his understanding of ignorance, avidya. It is impossible, he argues, for a person to do nitya naimitika karma like Agnihotra, etc., without knowing that the self is distinct from the body. Why? When you perform an enjoined karma, it produces punya, whereas doing a prohibited karma produces papa. Are they visible? No. They are credited to the account of the individual jiva who does the karma, to be encashed by him later. Therefore, the one who does such karma must necessarily have the knowledge that there is an Atma who survives the body, who is going to reap the unseen results of the action done here. But Nana, this was not what the Purva Mimamsa said earlier. They said the the reason, I mean, the Nitya Karma, Naimitika Karma that is done is to get rid of the Papa, the Durita of the previous births. And this concept of future Punya Papa was not there. They said living is like breathing, and then you, at the end of life, you attain moksha. But here they're bringing in the concept that there is, he will encash later. Is
That
there
is,
a,
with
yeah,
what attitude you have done the Nitya Karma, with what attitude you have done the Naimitika Karma. If the attitude is such as, I accept what the Veda says, it is an injunction by the Veda. This is the Shastra Vihita Karma, I shall do it. With no result in mind, when you do it like that, the result will, of course, be there, and the result will be in the form of Antakarana Shuddhi. It's a punya result that you need not encash later, but this will be adrushtapala, cleaning your mind, cleansing your mind. It is with what attitude you undertake that Nitya Naimitika Karma. Like a very disciplined student of the Veda, if you do, you will get Antakarana Shuddhi. If you do for your own benefit, thinking that you will get punya and you will get rid of papa and I want to get to heaven, etc., you will certainly get to heaven. It is the attitude that bears the result or not.
therefore, the one who does such karma must necessarily have the knowledge that there is an Atma who survives the body, who is going to reap the unseen results of the actions done here. Unless he has that knowledge, how can he perform such a karma? You cannot perform the Shraddha karma for the departed soul, for example, unless you accept a soul that has departed. Nor can you perform karmas for entry to heaven, because you know that this body is left behind here. Who is going to enter heaven? If you take the body as the Atma, you cannot do a karma whose result is going to accrue to the one who survives the death of the body. Nobody performs karma enjoined by the Veda without knowing that there is an Atma other than the body. That means he has no ignorance, avidya, but rather he has knowledge, vidya. How can you say that all karma is preceded by ignorance? This is an argument raised by the opponent. Merely knowing the Atma is distinct from body is not total knowledge. Vedanti's answer. This argument is not valid because the knowledge of Atma spoken of here is not complete. The knowledge that the self is distinct from the body comes under religion, and it is common to all religions, including Islam, Christianity, and Buddhism. In fact, it is not so much a knowledge as it is a belief. For Vedanta, this is only a part of the method of teaching, prakriya. It is not what it wants to convey, tatparya. I am not teaching Vedanta to tell you that you will be reborn. You were never born. Where is the possibility of being reborn? That you think you were born is your problem. So in the vision of Vedanta, we are not committed to rebirth, but it has to be part of the prakriya where when we are considering the model of karma. We have varieties of prakriyas. The model of karma, along with the concept of rebirth, is one of them. But we have no commitment there at all. How do you know that you survive death? You can only say that the Shastra says so. You cannot know it for certain until after death. And no one can return from death to verify this fact for us. Everyone is born totally ignorant of what preceded the birth of that body. It will be always the same and therefore will remain always a mystery. It can be called a belief. We consider it knowledge because it is revealed by the Shastra. But it is knowledge that will always be mediate. Nitya Paroksha Jnana. That knowledge, however, is not what we call knowledge of Atma. Even the person who knows that the self survives death thinks, I perform this action. And by that he means, I am an isolated individual who is the agent, karta, and the enjoyer, bhokta, of the results of action. As long as he looks at himself purely as a karta and bhokta, his knowledge is not complete. That knowledge and the knowledge of means and ends, sadhana sadhya, is not real knowledge. It is ignorance because it is opposed to the truth about the nature of the self. That the self is neither an agent nor an enjoyer. This is why we say that karma is preceded by avidya. Any karma is due to ignorance alone, Vedanti. Shankara negates the Purva Pakshi and defines ignorance here, and in the process defines karma as that which is in the form of activity, chalanatmaka. He says that any action which is chalanatmaka is anatmakartrika. That is, it is na atmakartrika, not done by Atma. That is, it is done by one who has this notion that I am doing this action. Whatever be the karma, whether it is enjoined by the Veda, Shrauta karma, or enjoined by Smriti, Smarta karma, or it is done as an atonement, Prayaschitta karma, or it is a prohibition, Pratisiddha karma, or it is in the form of a mandate, Nitya Naimitika karma, or purely, or it is in the form of an option to fulfill a desire, Kamya karma, or it is purely a secular action, Laukika karma, or is done physically, Kayika karma, orally, Vachika karma, or purely mentally, Manasa karma, it implies some kind of motion. There is movement, change, even in breathing, opening and closing the eyelids, and hearing, etc. Any mental activity is also motion. There is movement from one thought to another. One object is there, then that is gone, and another appears. On the part of the doer also, there is constant change. Now he is a seer, now a hearer, now a thinker. There is no karma without change, and therefore motion. Now a karma which is subject to change is performed by whom? By anatma alone. Is the body atma or anatma? Even according to this person who is arguing, the body is anatma. Even though it is the body which is doing the action, and this fellow knows very well that the self is other than the body, what does he say? I do, aham karomi. He does not say, my hand is offering the oblation, or my body is bathed, but rather, I offer the oblation, I bathed. He does not say that his tongue repeats the mantras, nor does he expect the tongue to get some results. Who is the karma phala bhokta? It is the person who thinks that he is going to get the results. Even though the action is done by the body does not think that it is the agent or that it is going to be the one who experiences the results. Whereas the person says, I do the action, I will enjoy the results. There is the ignorance, avidya. Even though I have a belief that the self is other than the body, I can never avoid identification with the physical body, etc., because this is a belief only about the situation after death. The appreciation of the Atma should be total. Otherwise, it can only be a simple belief. The notion that I am the body or that I am the agent, karta, will be there because the subtle body, sukshma sharira, is identified with the body. Naturally, whatever happens there happens only to me. That notion of agency will not go away simply by a belief that the self is other than the body. The self is not subject to any movement. achala, and therefore, where is the agency, kartritva? Not even the Shastra can address this Atma. The Shastra can address only an agent of action. Keeping that in view, it says, do this. Can it address Satchidananda Atma? No. It says that you are Satchidananda Atma, who does not perform any action and is free from samsara. And when it enjoins an action, it is only from the standpoint of the mind which is superimposed upon Atma and has Atma superimposed upon it. Because of this mutual superimposition, there is a sense of agency, kartritva buddhi. This is a false notion, and therefore every action is preceded by ignorance. I will read this last sentence again.
While on this, do you recollect the verse from the Atma Bodha? See, this sentence reads, it is only from the standpoint of the mind which is superimposed upon Atma and has Atma superimposed upon it.
That now, is that.
Yeah. Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya.
The Rasavarna, Raso. How the Rasa, Gandha, the color are superimposed on water. Similarly, I'm not getting that shloka.
No. In this particular context, the verse you need to recollect is Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya Dehendriya Manodhiyaha Swakriyateshu Vartante Suryalokam Yatha Jana. That has no superimposed on it, on the mind, the Atma Chaitanyam, and mind and buddhi, they think they know, and they keep on indulging various activities. Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya. Okay.
So it is only from the standpoint of the mind which is superimposed upon Atma and has Atma superimposed upon it. Because of this mutual superimposition, there is a sense of agency, kartritva buddhi. This is a false notion, and therefore every action is preceded by ignorance. This is, I understand, mind being superimposed upon Atma. But what is this Atma superimposed upon it?
That is, Atma superimposed upon it means, without the mind knowing it is Atma, that it is itself. The mind itself is Atma. The mind does not know. But because of the Chaitanya of the Atma, the mind, which is generally inert, as though becomes sentient. Okay. The mind and buddhi, they are inert. They become as though sentient. And they think they know, I know. Aham janami iti manyate. That is the superimposition.
But if Atma is superimposed on the mind, then it becomes mind. It is Atma only. It's not ignorance, no?
No, sir. That superimposition, we must understand like this. It is the Atma Chaitanya, which is reflecting through the mind and buddhi. It is because of that.
The other one, the Atma superimposing on the mind.
That is what I'm saying. Atma superimposing on the mind, you should understand that as the Chaitanya of the Atma is shining in the mind and buddhi, because of which the mind and buddhi, which are generally jadam, they become Chaitanyavantaha.
But isn't that the same as the mind being superimposed upon Atma? Is there a difference between these two?
No. Mind being superimposed upon Atma is because of avidya. See, you have got the belief that you are not the doer, you are not the body, and Atma does not do. That is the belief. But when you undertake any activity, you claim that you are doing it, and you undertake an activity for a desired result, whether it is a kamya karma or nitya naimitika karma. Okay?
But he says that Atma superimposed upon it. That also is in kartatva buddhi. So it is ignorant.
Not Atma is not ignorant.
No, no,
Atma,
no. Superimposed upon it.
see, Atma being superimposed in the mind should be read as the Chaitanya shine of Atma is as though lent to the mind. It is as though given to the mind to render it sentient. Because the Veda Vakyas will have to be understood by what? By the mind. And living as per the Veda Vakyas, who has to do? By the mind. And after graduating through the Veda Vakyas, the Karma Kanda he has graduated and he has rendered his mind very clean and all that. He has taken to the study of the Upanishads, and the Upanishad Vakyas will have a bearing and benefit to whom? To the mind. The mind only will have to understand. In order for the mind to be in a position to understand, this is Atma Chaitanya is as though superimposed on the mind. That is it.
Okay.
That is the meaning.
Okay. This is a false notion, and therefore every action is preceded by ignorance. The expression I do is only gauna, a figurative expression, Purva Pakshi's objection. When Shankara says this, the Purva Pakshi argues back by saying that when anyone says I do, it is only a figure of speech. It is like saying I did 60 miles an hour. I know I did not do 60 miles an hour. My car did it. Similarly, when I say I do, it is only figurative. I know I am distinct from the body and that it is the body that acts. But still, I say I do. The I cognition in the body, mind, sense complex is only figurative. Gauna. It is not false mithya. When someone says I am fat, etc., he knows very well that he is not this body, etc. But at the same time, he uses these expressions, not in their primary sense, but only in a secondary sense. It is not an erroneous notion, mithya pratyaya, by like mistaking a rope as a snake. When I say I do, aham karomi, it can be an error. The body can be taken as Atma and Atma can be taken as the body. That is an erroneous notion. But here it is not error. It is only figurative. This is the argument of the Purva Pakshi. Shankara rejects this. If that were true, anything born of the body would also be figurative. He is going to explain this later. The Purva Pakshi elaborates his stand. Now the objector explains his position further. The I sense in the body, etc., which belongs to the self, is figurative, gauna, just like in one's own son, which is expressed in the Veda as you are the self that is called the son. Let us understand this word gauna properly, because translating it as a figure of speech or secondary sense is problematic. The word gauna means that certain attributes are pointed out. When the father says to the son, you are nothing but myself, this is definitely a gauna expression. The idea is when you are happy, I am happy. And when you are unhappy, I become unhappy. The difference between the father and son is evident, but at the same time, there is an expression that indicates that one is the other. That is called a gauna expression. Because the son is born of him, the son is born in his own image. And more than that, the father has such a strong identification with his son that he can say that his son is himself. This is an example of a Vedic expression. In common parlance too, we hear things like, this cow is my life. Definitely the one who says this knows that the cow is different from himself and he is different from the cow. But still, because his livelihood is dependent on the cow, he says that the cow is his life. This is another gauna expression. So too, it is argued here, is the expression I do. It is not a false notion, an error, because the one who says this knows that Atma is other than the body, and he also knows that the body is other than the Atma. In a false notion, Mithya Pratyaya, the attributes of two things are not properly understood, as when the stump of a tree is taken for a person. If the person is understood and the stump is understood, one is not going to be mistaken for the other. Only if what is there is not known and something else is superimposed upon it, it is an error. What is superimposed? Aropa alone is seen and not the basis, adhishtana, of the superimposition. That is error. But when I say I perform this ritual, I know the body and Atma are distinct, and therefore it is not error, Mithya Pratyaya, but Gauna. So says the Purva Pakshi. The I cognition in the body is not figurative, but erroneous, Vedanti's answer. Shankara replies that this is not true, for there is something more to understand about a Gauna expression. What is accomplished by the primary thing is not accomplished by what is figuratively said to be. For instance, even though the father says that the son is himself, when the son eats, it is not equal to his eating. But here, even though the karma is done by the body, mind, sense complex, the notion, I am the agent, is very much there. If it is not, how can he ever perform a karma like the Agnihotra? Since he is doing it, definitely there is a sense of agency, kartritva buddhi, imputed to the self. Anything done by the body is done by the self. But that is not the case with reference to something that is the object of a Gauna expression. The action that the son does is not done by the father, whereas here the body does the action, but the notion is, I do the action. This is not Gauna. It is false, Mithya. Shankara explains further. There are two types of comparative expressions. If you say a person's courage is like that of a lion, it is a Vyakta Upama or a simile. The courage of the lion and the courage of this person are identical. There is also a form of comparison which is not adequately stated, an elliptical comparison, Lupta Upama or metaphor. Shankara gives a couple of examples of this type of comparison. If you say that Devadatta is a lion, for instance, all the qualities of the lion do not concur with those of Devadatta. The lion has 4 legs, Devadatta has only 2. The lion has a mane, Devadatta does not, and so on. But at the same time, you say that Devadatta is a lion. What does it mean? In one aspect of the lion, there is a certain identity with Devadatta, and only that identity is pointed out by this word lion. He has the fierceness of the lion or the courage of the lion. This is a Gauna expression. Even though there is a point of similarity, what the lion does, Devadatta cannot do at all. The lion can kill an elephant or a tiger without a rifle. Will Devadatta be able to do that? No. So too in the expression, the student is fire. The similarity is only in terms of his brilliance or skin color, Shankara says. He cannot do what fire can do. In other words, you cannot boil a kettle of water on his head. The object of the Gauna expression cannot do exactly what the thing to which it is compared can do. So basically he's saying the small I sense cannot do what the Atma is. It cannot be Satchidananda. That Vidya is continually there. That
what
is the
Shankaracharya is trying to highlight is what you know as a form of belief through the Veda Vakyas or through the religion, your adherence to the religion, your belief is not adequate knowledge for you. It is an input to you. It is an information to you, which you tend to as though follow. As though follow, why I said is, if you indeed follow, whenever there is any activity, you do not claim that you are doing it. You will simply say, the indriyani indriyardeshu vartanta, parantu aham na kinchit karomi iti, that kind of a bhavana will come. If you have understood the Shastra Vakya correctly, you have only got that as an input, that's all. That is an information to you. You have not yet digested that. You have not become the essence of the Shastra Vakya yet, which is incomplete knowledge. And because it is incomplete knowledge, avidya eva is the propeller of all actions.
On the other hand, when you say, I do, you mean it. The Atma is taken to be the agent. If you do not accept that, what you are saying is what Vedanta says. If you know that in spite of the body and mind doing various things, you are not doing anything.
Did you understand this? If you do not accept that, what you're saying is what Vedanta says. That means what? Vedanta says Atma does not do
anything.
So if you don't accept that, you are accepting Vedanta. Where is the argument?
Yes, there is. True.
If you know that in spite of the body and mind doing various things, you are not doing anything, you understand that Atma is Satchit Ananda. Only then can you say that Atma is Akarta. If that is so, we have nothing further to discuss. But if whatever the body does, Atma does, and whatever is Atma, that is the lot of the body, it is a mithya statement and not gauna. A gauna expression, either as an expression of elliptical comparison or metaphor, is only meant to praise or reveal a quality of the thing being compared. It is not meant to be used to reveal a thing directly. What is accomplished by a lion can never be accomplished by Devadatta, nor can what is accomplished by fire be accomplished by the student. That is gauna. On the other hand, one does experience the undesirable thing which is accomplished by a false cognition, mithya pratyaya. If a person identifies the self with the body, the outcome of that identification is action leading to punya, papa, sukha, dukkha, raga, dvesha, and all that is undesirable. In other words, it leads to samsara. Not only that, the one who hears this gauna expression knows the object described very well. He knows that Devadatta is not a lion and the student is not fire. There is no mistake. And there is, on the other hand, discrimination, viveka. Where there is lack of discrimination, and because of that, the cognition of a given thing in something that it is not, in the situation of atasmin tat buddhihi, there is mithya pratyaya. A mithya pratyaya is born of aviveka, lack of discrimination. This is the difference between gauna pratyaya and mithya pratyaya. Knowing that Devadatta is Devadatta and not a lion, yet calling him a lion is gauna pratyaya. Mistaking a tree stump for a person is mithya pratyaya, which is born of aviveka. Knowing the difference between the two is discrimination, viveka. When you say, I am the doer, karta, and the Veda has asked me to perform this karma and therefore I am doing it, even though the action is done by the body, mind, sense complex, and that alone is the karta, that becomes the Atma. Although you believe that Atma is other than the body, Atma is mistaken for the doer karta. The erroneous notion, due to lack of discrimination, is what is called mithya pratyaya. It is gauna, a figure of speech, only when there is discrimination between the two objects involved. Therefore, it is not true that the I cognition in the body mind sense complex is only figurative gauna. Because this was to begin with was the Purva Pakshi stand, that this I complex, I cognition is only a gauna expression and not a mithya pratyaya. Suppose you understand the difference between the two and still you say Devadatta is a lion, to point out his similarity to a lion in some respect. That is called gauna pratyaya. Here the real lion is mukhya, primary. Devadatta is the gauna, figurative lion. And here it is understood that the gauna lion, Devadatta, cannot do the actions of the mukhya lion, the thing to which it is compared, and vice versa. Accordingly, Shankara says that if the body mind sense complex is only the figurative self, while the primary self is distinct from the body, there would be the following situation. A karma is done by the gauna atma, the body mind sense complex, which is figuratively called the self, would not be done by the mukhya atma, the self, which is the primary object of the I cognition. Where there is a gauna pratyaya, the difference between the two is evident, and one does not do the actions of the other. What is done by the figurative lion, Devadatta, and the figurative fire, the student, is not done by the real lion or the real fire. If the figurative fire, the student, reads a book, no one thinks that the fire reads a book. According to our opponent, the body is only figuratively the self. Therefore, what is done by the body is done only by the body, not by the Atma. But still he says, I am the agent, Karta, because he considers that the Shruti is addressing him and asking him to do a given action, and therefore he does the action and hopes to get the result. Thus, he has a sense of agency, Kartritva Buddhi, which is not figurative. If it were, he would think that the body alone does the action, not him. But he does think that he performs the action, since he expects to reap the result. Thus, this is not gauna pratyaya, but mithya pratyaya. It is very clear that between the body and the self, there is a false connection. One is mistaken for the other. Shankara explains this further. We saw that what is done by the primary thing is not done by the thing to which it is figuratively compared. Even though Devadatta possesses some qualities of the lion, everything that lion can do, Devadatta cannot do. When we make a statement that Devadatta is a lion, do we really mean that he does have the actions of a lion? No, we are only revealing a certain quality of his, nothing more. We only mean that he has a certain disposition, which can be likened to that of a lion. It does not reveal any action on the part of Devadatta, which is equivalent to the action done by the lion. Such expressions are purely for the purpose of praising the person. Similarly, saying that the student is fire is saying that he is of a tawny color like fire. It is praise because there was a value for that skin color in the culture of Shankara's time. And another thing, those who are praised know that they are not the things to which they are figuratively compared. Devadatta knows he is not a lion, and the student knows very well that he is not fire. That is why they can acknowledge the praise. Further, they both know that they do not do the actions of the object of comparison. Devadatta knows that the actions of a lion are not his. And as the student knows that the actions of fire are not his, he knows, I am not fire, nor do I make the water boil. So too, if the body, mind, sense complex is the figurative self, Gauna Atma, and not the primary self, Mukhya Atma, the understanding that the action of the body, etc., is not mine, that is, does not belong to the primary Atma, would be more appropriate than the understanding, I am the agent, the action is mine. He should know that the body-mind-sense complex performs the action and its activity is not his activity. The actions that are done by the body-mind-sense complex belongs only to that, not to me, the primary self. This knowledge would be more appropriate than the knowledge, I am the doer, this is my action. So here the primary self is like the lion and the figurative self is the body-mind-sense complex, the Devadatta. Isn't it, Nana?
Right, Amma.
Yeah.
Correct analysis.
Yeah. Then we have to ask, if you perform no action, then for whom is the result of action karma phala? It cannot be for you. Further, if you do not do the action, then how can Shastra address you? The Shastra says, for example, that a certain ritual is to be performed by a Brahmana whose hair is not grey. That is, by a Krishna Kesha Brahmana. There are hundreds of specifications like this based on age, caste, varna, stage of life, ashrama, etc. To whom do they apply? Unless you have the eye sense in the body-mind-sense complex, there is no way that you can consider yourself qualified to do these rituals. Only if that identification exists can you say that you are a Brahmana, etc. The Shruti enjoins a certain action for a Brahmana. Only if you consider yourself a Brahmana will you consider yourself addressed by that injunction. Thus, it is clear that considering oneself a Brahmana is not a Gauna Pratyaya, but a Mithya Pratyaya. The difference becomes very clear. The understanding, I am the agent Karta, cannot be appropriate if the body is only figuratively the self. Nana, this thing is a little confusing, this Gauna Pratyaya and Mithya Pratyaya. Although I've read it, the actual clarity is not there, I think.
That is, there are two things. Like what he said, the Devadatta and the lion, the student and the fire. Okay? The student is compared to the fire, Devadatta is compared to the lion. That is a Gauna Prachaya. Okay? That is a Gauna Prachaya. You know definitely that this Devadatta cannot behave like the lion, but he has one or two qualities of the lion. He is unafraid and he is fierce. Whenever he finds any opposition, he does not spare the opposition. And he is not afraid of any opposition also, like even the lion. That is a Gauna Prachaya. The Mithya Prachaya is in respect of the Veda Vakyas. Veda Vakyas are listened to by who? By you. And Veda Vakyas say, if you are a Brahmana and you have got the Krishna Keshaha, Krishna is black. Black Keshaha, as long as your hairs have not gone dry, white, you have to do all these things. Who is listening to this? The one who recognizes that his hair is still black. That means what? He has an identification with the body. And who is that fellow? He thinks he is a Brahmana. So he knows to what Varna he belongs. So this cannot be a Gauna Prachaya. This is a Mithya Prachaya. He has accepted the Shastra Vakya as being addressed to him, and him is what? The one who has got the Krishna Keshaha and one who is a Brahmana. He knows he is a Brahmana. How does he know he is a Brahmana? Does Atma know that Atma is Brahmana? Does Atma know that it has got Krishna Keshaha? It does not. When such is the case, you have accepted the Shastra Vakya. You as the ignorant person accepted the Shastra Vakya. So it cannot be the Gauna Prachaya. It is only the Mithya Prachaya. It is a false notion. It is though addressed to you, that you is the ignorant person as far as the Shastra is concerned. Because Shastra has no purpose at all in enjoining any jnani for any particular action. Because jnani knows he is an akarta. Aham na kinchit karomi iti, jnani knows. When such is the case, where is the address of the Shastra to such a person? The address is only to the ignorant person, who may have the belief that he is Atma, but he does not have the anubhava of that.
Yeah.
Like all of us have gone through the Atma Bodha. So many beautiful verses are there. And we have known that we are Atma, we are not this body. And this is all the binding influence for samsara. Our identification with the body will be the binding influence for samsara. All that we have known. But are we free from the bondage of identification with the body? Are we free? As long as we are not free, it is mithya prachaya. You have as though known, but you have not known. That is what is the burden of Shankara's argument. He says your knowledge is incomplete. As long as it is incomplete, you are ignorant. And you, the ignorant fellow, are listening to the Shastra. That's all. And because of that, because you are ignorant, you are keen on listening to the Shastra. For what? Because you have got the raga dveshas, which will propel you into an action. And all these things are born of ignorance. And ignorance is the cause for desire. To fulfill your desire, you are acting. Understand. That is the Shastra Prabodha.
For that, you need Vihita karma, Veda Vihita karmas to do. To clear off the Atma Shuddhi. Means,
Correct. Very right, sir.
Yeah. Then
Veda,
you become Siddhi, then you become Atma.
Very right. Very correct. See, Veda is very immensely interested in our uplift. That is why the Karmakanda is there, conforming to which you cleanse yourself. And then the Jnanakanda is there, conforming to that, you lift yourself up by yourself. Like it was mentioned in the 6th chapter. Uddhared atmanatmanam na atmanam avasatayet. You have to lift your mind up by yourself, by your proper effort, by your proper understanding of the Shastra Vakya. Shastra Vakya here is the Upanishad Vakya, because you have already graduated through the Karma Kanda already. And when such is the case, you have become a fit person to be a good student of Upanishads. And that you will benefit immensely if you have prepared your mind adequately through the Karma Kanda Anusthana. That is the burden of the Veda. Okay, sir?
Thank you. So nice. Nicely explained, Nanaji. Very thank you.
Yeah. Brahmana, I think we should stop here. At the end of this para, we stop.
Okay.
Refutation of Nayayika Mata, that we will take up tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you, it's not correct to barge onto the Manana time and again. Both of us are doing that. 1/2 an hour is perhaps okay. Unlike yesterday, we have used up a lot of time. Okay, end of this para.
Nanaji,
Yes,
we take this as manana only.
I'm not true. No, what I'm saying, Suresh Bhai, what I'm saying is, there may be a lot of other inputs from the other members of the Manana class, which are not evident here, which are not evidenced here. We should not rob them of that opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before closing, Nana, will you be able to answer the question, or should we take it for tomorrow?
Questions tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. You complete this para, Nana.
Should I complete this para?
This particular para.
This one.
No. When
I
you
finished
start,
this para.
when you come to refutation, you stop.
I finished
Anything
that.
above that, you complete.
I think I finished it.
Oh, I see.
It is clear that considering oneself a Brahmana is not a Gauna Pratyaya, but a Mithya Pratyaya. The difference becomes very clear. The understanding I am the agent Karta cannot be appropriate if the body is only figuratively the self.
Your doubt is cleared?
Yes.
Okay, good. We will take this up tomorrow. Nana. Okay. Tomorrow I'll start from this. Okay. I will use up 40 minutes. You use up 50 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. 40, 50 is 1.5 hours.
Fine.
Right. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om everybody.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Dhanyavad Nanaji.
Hari Om.
Dhanyavad.